This is a galactic emergency broadcast. At 600 Standard Galactic Time, the Jakari Dominion launched a coordinated assault on human settlements across 3 star systems. Initial reports indicate complete destruction of civilian populations. The Jakari High Council has declared humans an inferior species unworthy of existence. What the Jakari don't know is that they've just attacked the only species in galactic history that looks at literally everything, from coffee cups to asteroid belts, and asks the same question: can I use this to kill something? Humans don't just make weapons. They make weapons out of things that were never meant to be weapons. They weaponize physics. They weaponize biology. They weaponize time itself. The Jakari wanted to see what humanity is capable of. They're about to find out. Dr. Jennifer Park stood in the observation dome of Research Station Osiris, watching the sunrise over Kepler 442b's methane seas. After 3 years of cataloging alien microorganisms, she'd finally found evidence of complex proteins, the building blocks of life. Her coffee mug read, "Xenobiologist, I study aliens so you don't have to." She never got to finish that coffee. "Dr. Park!" Her assistant Thomas burst through the door, his face pale. Unidentified ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Hundreds of them. Jennifer's blood went cold. The colony had no military presence, just scientists, families, children. "Activate the distress beacon," she ordered. "Get everyone to the shelters." Through the observation dome, she watched the alien fleet descend. Sleek warships, jet black, covered in bioluminescent markings. The Jakari, one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy. And they weren't here to negotiate. The first energy beam struck the colony's power station. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Then came the second beam, the third, the fourth. Jennifer grabbed Thomas's arm. "The greenhouse domes. We need to—" The comm system crackled to life. A guttural voice, translated by the station's AI. "Attention, inferior species. You have 30 seconds to evacuate before atmospheric bombardment begins. This is your only warning." 30 seconds. Jennifer looked at Thomas, at the 247 people on this station. 63 were children. "Move! Everyone to the escape pods, now!" But deep down, she knew. The Jakari weren't giving them 30 seconds out of mercy. They were giving them 30 seconds to run, to panic, to die afraid. The bombardment began exactly 30 seconds later. Jennifer watched through the pod's viewport as Research Station Osiris, 3 years of her life's work, evaporated under plasma fire. The greenhouse domes shattered. The research labs melted. The residential quarters where children had drawn pictures of alien butterflies collapsed into molten slag. The escape pods scattered into space, fragile seeds fleeing a forest fire. Most didn't make it. Jennifer's pod did, barely. As they drifted in the dark, waiting for rescue that might never come, she heard Thomas crying softly. "Why? We weren't soldiers. We were scientists. We had no weapons. Why would they attack us?" Jennifer stared at the debris field that had been her home. Her jaw set hard. "They just made a very big mistake," she whispered. Across 3 star systems, the same scene played out. Colony New Shanghai, population 8,400, obliterated. Mining Station Tartarus, population 3,200, destroyed. Agricultural Dome Harvest, population 12,900. Wiped out. Total human casualties in the first hour, 24,500, including 4,800 children. The Jakari High Council watched the reports with satisfaction. Supreme Overlord Krixthar, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under violet lights, clicked his mandibles in approval. Excellent work, War Master Velkon. The human infestation has been cleansed from our territorial space. War Master Velkon bowed, his 6 legs folding in deference. The humans offered no resistance, Supreme Overlord. Their settlements had no defensive capabilities. They died like the prey animals they are. And their distress signals? Transmitted to Earth before we could jam them. But it matters little. Let them know. Let them fear. Crixthar rose from his throne. Behind him, a massive viewport showed the Jakari homeworld, a planet of crystalline spires and bioluminescent forests. For too long, we have tolerated these newcomers. They spread across the galaxy like bacteria, claiming worlds, demanding recognition. Today, we reminded them of their place in the natural order. Supreme Overlord, interjected Science Executor Thaxril, should we not concern ourselves with retaliation? The humans have demonstrated technological capability. Crixthar laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. You've studied them too long, Thaxril. You've forgotten what they truly are. Show the Council what your research revealed. Thaxril activated a holographic display. A human appeared, rotating slowly. Soft skin, no natural armor, no claws, no venom glands. Observe, Thaxril said reluctantly. Humans are physically inferior to 97% of known spacefaring species. Their bones are fragile. Their senses are limited. They require constant nourishment and rest. By every biological metric, they should not have survived their own planetary evolution. Exactly, Crixthar said triumphantly. They are evolutionary accidents who stumbled upon technology, nothing more. But Thaxril wasn't finished. However, Supreme Overlord, there is one area where humans demonstrate unusual capability. Their tool use and adaptive engineering are unprecedented. In their short history, they've developed thousands of weapon systems, many of which— Weapons we've analyzed and countered, interrupted Velkon dismissively. Their military vessels are adequately armed but poorly shielded. Their tactics are straightforward. We've war-gamed every scenario. Thaxril's antennae twitched with concern. War Master, you've analyzed their military weapons. But I don't think you understand what I mean when I say humans weaponize everything. Explain, Crixthar ordered. Humans have a concept they call dual-use technology. It means nearly everything they build has both civilian and military applications. A mining laser becomes a ship-to-ship weapon. A cargo container becomes a bomb. A communication satellite becomes a surveillance system. Thaxril pulled up more data. In their history, they've weaponized bacteria, viruses, weather patterns, economics, information, psychology, even children's toys. The council chamber fell silent. During their Second World War, Thaxril continued, they developed weapons so destructive they nearly rendered their own planet uninhabitable. And they've never stopped innovating. Every generation creates more efficient ways to kill. Then they are barbaric, Crixthar said, which makes our action necessary. They are a plague that must be contained. With respect, Supreme Overlord, I recommend caution. The humans, Crixthar cut him off, have just learned their place. This discussion is over. War Master, maintain blockades around their remaining colonies. Any human ship attempting to enter Jakari space will be destroyed on sight. What the Supreme Overlord didn't know was that Earth had received the distress signals, and Earth was already responding. Just not in any way the Jakari expected. Admiral Catherine Hayes stood in the war room buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, holographic displays showed the devastation. 24,500 dead. Her daughter had been on New Shanghai. Her daughter had been 7 years old. Admiral, General Marcus Joe approached carefully. The United Earth Council is waiting for your recommendation. Catherine stared at the casualty list. Her daughter's name was there. Emma Hayes, age 7, cause of death, atmospheric incineration. What are our options? Her voice was flat, emotionless. The grief would come later. Right now, she was a weapon. Conventional response: deploy the 3rd and 5th fleets. Engage Jakari forces in open combat. Joe pulled up tactical projections. Estimated casualties: 40% of our fleet. Estimated timeline: 8 months to push them back to their borders. Unacceptable. Next option: unconventional warfare. Deploy special operations groups to Jakari-controlled territories. Guerrilla tactics, infrastructure sabotage, psychological warfare. Estimated timeline: 2 years. Estimated casualties: unknown. Catherine shook her head. 2 years is too long. These aliens attacked civilian populations, scientists, children. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. They need to understand what happens when you anger humanity. What's the 3rd option? Joe hesitated. Project Pandora. Everyone in the war room froze. General, that program is theoretical, protested Dr. Sarah Kim, head of Advanced Weapons Development. We've never actually deployed. Then it's time we did, Catherine said quietly. Activate Project Pandora. Full authorization. No restrictions. Admiral, do you understand what you're authorizing? Sarah's face had gone pale. Project Pandora is every weapon system we've ever conceived, but never built because we considered them too dangerous, too unpredictable, too effective, Catherine finished. Yes, Dr. Kim. I know exactly what I'm authorizing. The Jakari wanted to see what happens when they attack humans who aren't soldiers. Let's show them. Sarah took a deep breath. It will take 48 hours to initialize all systems. And Admiral, once we start this, we can't stop it. Pandora doesn't have an off switch. It's designed to escalate continuously until either we achieve complete victory or we lose everything, Catherine finished. I'm aware. 48 hours. Get started. As the meeting dispersed, General Joe stayed behind. Catherine, I'm sorry about Emma. Admiral Hayes finally let the mask slip. Tears streamed down her face. They killed our children, Marcus. They killed scientists who were studying bacteria. They murdered people who had never held a weapon in their lives. I know. So we're going to teach them why humanity spent 10,000 years inventing new ways to kill each other. We're going to show them what happens when you weaponize grief. 48 hours later, the Jakari detected something unusual. War Master, we're picking up massive energy signatures throughout human-controlled space, reported a sensor technician. They're building something. Multiple somethings. Velcon studied the data. Fleet formations? Negative. These energy signatures don't match any known human vessel design. They're stationary, in orbit around asteroids, moons, even in deep space. How many? Counting now. 7,400 installations, and the number is increasing. 7,400. Velcon felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. That's impossible. They couldn't have built that many installations in 48 hours. They didn't build them, War Master. According to our intelligence, they already existed. They've been hidden for years, disguised as mining platforms, communication relays, scientific stations. The humans have been preparing for this. Preparing for what? The sensor technician's voice shook. I don't know, War Master. But whatever it is, it's activating. All 7,400 installations, are coming online simultaneously. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's newest capital ship. Built in secret over 5 years, it was designed for exactly this scenario. "All Pandora installations report ready," announced her tactical officer. Catherine nodded. "Transmit this message on all Zakari frequencies." A communications officer worked his console. "Channel open, Admiral." Catherine leaned forward, her voice carrying the weight of 24,500 dead. "Zakari High Council, this is Admiral Catherine Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. 48 hours ago, you attacked human civilian populations without provocation. You murdered scientists. You murdered children. You declared us an inferior species." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You made 3 critical mistakes. First, you assumed that because we prefer peace, we're incapable of war. Second, you assumed that because our colonies weren't armed, we weren't prepared. Third, and most important, you fundamentally misunderstood what humans are." Another pause. "We are not warriors by nature. We are engineers. We don't fight enemies. We solve problems. And you just became a problem." Catherine made a gesture. Her tactical officer pressed a button. "Welcome to Project Pandora. Let me show you what happens when you weaponize an entire species." The first Zakari patrol ship to encounter a Pandora installation reported back in confusion. "Command, we've found one of the human constructs. It appears to be a mining platform? Standard asteroid extraction equipment. No weapon signatures." "Are you certain?" Belcon asked. "Affirmative. Just mining lasers and ore processors. It's not even pointed toward our—" The transmission cut off. "Patrol 7, report. Patrol 7, respond." Silence. When they recovered the ship's logs, they found something horrifying. The mining platform had rotated with impossible speed, its civilian mining lasers suddenly coherent enough to cut through military-grade armor like paper. But that wasn't what destroyed the patrol ship. The ore processors had been modified to superheat and launch refined metallic asteroids at relativistic speeds. Kinetic bombardment using mining equipment. The patrol ship never saw it coming. "They weaponized a mining platform," Velcon said in disbelief. "That's absurd. That's efficient," finished Science Executive Thaxrill grimly. "War Master, I tried to warn you. Humans look at everything and see a weapon. That mining platform probably served its civilian function for years, but it was always designed to convert to military use within minutes. Then we destroy these installations before they—" "Too late," Thaxrill interrupted, pointing at the tactical display. "They're everywhere, in our territory, in neutral space. Some are probably in our own system by now, disguised as abandoned satellites or space debris." Supreme Overlord Crixthar stormed into the command center. "What is happening? We're receiving reports of attacks across 17 systems." Velcon brought up the tactical feed. Zakari ships were under assault, not from human warships, but from infrastructure. Communication relays that suddenly fired directed energy beams. Scientific satellites that released swarms of hunter-killer drones. Automated cargo vessels that rammed Zakari cruisers at full thrust, exploding on impact. "They're attacking us with civilian equipment," Crixthar said in disbelief. "That's against every convention of civilized warfare." "Supreme Overlord," Thaxrill said carefully. "I don't think humans recognize the distinction between military and civilian equipment. To them, it's all just resources to be used." A new alarm blared. "Incoming transmission from the human fleet," announced a communications officer. "Ignore it," Crixthar ordered. "We do not negotiate with—" Supreme Overlord, you should see this, Velcon interrupted. They're broadcasting on every channel, every frequency, even on wavelengths we thought were secure. The main view screen activated. Admiral Hayes appeared, standing on her ship's bridge. Jakari High Council, you have one opportunity to surrender. Withdraw all forces to your home system. Release all prisoner species. Submit to galactic oversight of your military. You have 24 hours to comply. Crixthar laughed. Or what, human? You'll attack us with more mining equipment? Admiral Hayes smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. No. In 24 hours, if you haven't surrendered, we'll introduce you to the second phase of Project Pandora. We'll weaponize something you never considered. And what's that? Biology. The transmission ended. In the Jakari High Council chambers, Science Executor Thaxril pulled up everything they knew about human biological research. What he found made his blood run cold. Supreme Overlord, in their history, humans have weaponized diseases. They've created bioengineered viruses. They've studied the biology of every species they've encountered, mapping genetic weaknesses. He pulled up a particularly disturbing file. This is a human research paper titled Theoretical Vulnerabilities in Chitinous Exoskeleton Structures. It's disguised as academic research, but look at the author credentials. Velcon leaned closer. Dr. Jennifer Park, Xenobiology. Last known location, Research Station Osiris. The same station we destroyed, Thaxril confirmed. She was one of the survivors. Do you understand what this means? We attacked a civilian research station, and one of those civilians was studying our biological weaknesses. We didn't kill a random scientist. We killed someone who could have helped us. And now she's working for their military. Crixthar's mandibles clicked nervously. Surely they wouldn't. Biological warfare is banned by galactic convention. Those are conventions they never agreed to, Thaxril pointed out. Humans aren't part of the Galactic Union. They're not bound by our rules. He pulled up more research. Here's another paper. Atmospheric Composition Analysis of Jakari Homeworld. And another. Nutritional Requirements and Potential Allergenic Responses in Jakari. Biology. They've been studying us, learning our weaknesses, for years. This is standard scientific research, Velcon protested weakly. Is it? Or is it reconnaissance disguised as science? Can you tell the difference? No one could answer. We need to launch a preemptive strike, Crixthar declared. Full military assault on Earth. Destroy their homeworld before they can deploy these biological weapons. Supreme Overlord, I strongly advise against that, Thaxril said urgently. If we attack Earth, we're playing into their hands. They want us to commit everything to a direct assault. It's a trap. How can you know that? Because that's how humans think. They're not reactive fighters. They're strategic planners. Everything they do is 3 moves ahead. That mining platform that attacked our patrol. It was placed there years ago, waiting. Project Pandora wasn't thrown together in 48 hours. They've been preparing for this scenario since the day they entered space. Crixthar slumped in his throne. For the first time in his long reign, he felt genuine fear. What do you recommend? Open negotiations immediately, before the 24 hours expire. That would be an admission of weakness. Supreme Overlord, Thaxril said quietly, we already look weak. We attacked civilians and got counterattacked by mining equipment. Our entire fleet is being harassed by converted cargo ships. If we don't negotiate now, the humans will escalate, and I don't think we want to see what Phase 2 of their plan looks like. 23 hours and 40 minutes after Admiral Hayes's ultimatum, the Jacari sent a diplomatic envoy. The meeting took place on a neutral station, overseen by the Galactic Council. Ambassador Tishen represented the Jacari. Admiral Hayes represented humanity. Tishen had prepared an eloquent speech about misunderstandings and cultural differences. He never got to deliver it. "Before we begin," Admiral Hayes said coldly, "I want you to understand something. 48 hours ago, your people murdered 24,500 of my people. 4,800 were children. One of those children was my daughter." Tishen's translator couldn't quite capture the tone of her voice, but the emotion needed no translation. "You called us an inferior species. You said we were evolutionary accidents. You were wrong." Admiral Hayes activated a holographic display. "This is what humans are capable of when you give us a reason to fight." The display showed the results of Project Pandora's first phase. Over 300 Jacari ships damaged or destroyed. 17 Jacari-controlled systems in chaos. Supply lines disrupted. Communication networks compromised. All from converted civilian equipment. "And this," Admiral Hayes continued, "is Phase 2. New images appeared. Microscopic organisms, genetic sequences, chemical formulas. We've identified 17 biological vulnerabilities in Jacari physiology. We've engineered targeted pathogens that would spread through your population in weeks. We've synthesized atmospheric contaminants that would make your homeworld uninhabitable. We've mapped your food supply chain and identified 3 pressure points that, if disrupted, would cause mass starvation." Tishen's exoskeleton trembled. "You're bluffing. You wouldn't actually—" "Watch." Admiral Hayes made a gesture. On screen, a human research vessel approached a Jacari agricultural world, one of their less populated colonies. It deployed a single canister into the upper atmosphere. Within hours, the planet's entire crop yield began to wither. "That was a demonstration using a non-lethal compound," Admiral Hayes explained. "The crops will recover in 3 weeks, but it shows you what we're capable of. We can make your worlds uninhabitable without firing a single shot." Tishen was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want?" "First, complete withdrawal from human-claimed territories. Second, reparations for the families of the 24,500 people you murdered. Third, your military will be reduced by 75% and subject to independent oversight. Fourth, you will formally apologize to every species in this galaxy for your acts of aggression." "Those terms are humiliating." "Those terms are merciful," Admiral Hayes corrected. "You killed our children. We could kill yours. We could exterminate your entire species. We have the capability. We have the justification. But we're choosing not to." She leaned forward. "Do you know why?" Tishen shook his head. "Because unlike you, we understand that true strength isn't the ability to destroy. It's the wisdom to know when not to. We're giving you this choice once. Accept these terms, or we'll show you what Phase 3 looks like." "What's Phase 3? Admiral Hayes smiled that terrible smile again. "You really don't want to find out." The Jacari High Council met in emergency session. Supreme Overlord Krixthar looked older, his exoskeleton dulled with stress. "We have no choice," he said finally. "Accept their terms." "This is a disaster," Velkon protested. "Our military power will be crippled. Our empire will survive," Krixthar interrupted, "which is more than we'll have if we refuse. You've all seen the reports. These humans, they don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't meet us in honorable combat. They turn everything into a weapon. Our own scientists confirm that their biological weapons are real and deployable. Science executor Thaxrill spoke up. There's something else you should know. I've been analyzing human behavior patterns. Throughout their history, when faced with extinction-level threats, they become more creative, more desperate, more dangerous. Right now, they're offering terms. If we refuse, they'll escalate. And I don't think there's a limit to how far they'll go. They're bluffing, insisted War Master Velkon. They wouldn't commit genocide. It goes against their own moral codes. Does it? Thaxrill challenged. In their history, they've committed genocides against their own species, over resources, over ideologies, over territory that didn't even matter. What makes you think they won't do worse to aliens who murdered their children? The council fell silent. We accept their terms, Krixthar declared. Transmit our unconditional surrender. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Jakari Dominion, one of the most aggressive empires in known space, had surrendered to humanity after less than 72 hours of conflict. More shocking was how humanity won. Not through superior fleets, not through devastating superweapons, but by weaponizing infrastructure, biology, and fear itself. Other species began to reassess their understanding of humans. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Tishen delivered a formal statement. The Jakari Dominion apologizes for its unprovoked assault on human colonies. We acknowledge that our actions were born of fear and ignorance. We did not understand what humans truly are. He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. We thought they were weak because they prefer peace. We were wrong. Humans are terrifying because they understand violence so completely that they choose not to use it unless provoked. But when provoked, he gestured to the devastation reports. They turn everything into a weapon. Their mining equipment, their research, their very infrastructure. There is no distinction between civilian and military capability, because everything they build serves dual purposes. Another species representative, the Kalith diplomat, raised a crystalline appendage. Are we to understand that humanity has been preparing for war since they entered galactic space? Admiral Hayes, present as Earth's representative, answered calmly. We've been preparing for war since we learned to make fire. It's what we do. We prepare for worst-case scenarios, hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's paranoid, the Kalith diplomat suggested. That's survival, Admiral Hayes corrected. Every asteroid mining platform we build is designed to convert to a weapon if needed. Every research station collects data that could be weaponized. Every communication relay can become a surveillance network. It's not paranoia. It's engineering. The council chamber erupted in concerned chatter. But surely, another diplomat protested, there are limits to what you'll weaponize. Admiral Hayes considered the question. We weaponized the atom, split it apart, and turned matter into energy. We weaponized diseases that once killed millions of us. We weaponized information, psychology, economics. We turned our own planet's weather into a weapon during our wars. We've weaponized sound, light, even silence. She looked around at the assembled species. Is there anything we won't weaponize? Yes. Our compassion, our mercy, our ability to choose peace. Those are the only things we refuse to turn into weapons. Everything else? She shrugged. Everything else is just resources waiting to be used. 6 months later, Dr. Jennifer Park stood in the rebuilt research station Osiris. The structure was larger now, better equipped. And unlike before, it was heavily armed. Her new coffee mug read, "Xenobiologist, studying aliens, so we know their weaknesses." Thomas, her assistant, approached with a datapad. "Dr. Park, the Jacari have requested to send scientific envoys to study alongside us. They want to learn how to protect their own biosphere from potential threats." Jennifer smiled. It was a warmer smile than it had been 6 months ago. "Approve it. Send them a welcome package. And Thomas?" "Yes, Doctor. Include our research on protective measures for chitinous exoskeletons. The things we learned about vulnerabilities. Share how to fix them." Thomas looked surprised. "You're helping them defend against the very weapons we developed." "Of course. We're scientists, not soldiers. Our job is to understand life, not destroy it." She looked out at the methane seas of Kepler 442b, where her research had been interrupted by violence. "Besides, the best way to prevent future wars is to make sure everyone understands that fighting us is pointless. If they know we can weaponize anything, and if they know we're choosing not to, maybe they'll think twice before attacking humans again." "And if they don't?" Jennifer's expression hardened briefly. "Then we'll show them Phase 3. "Doctor, I've been meaning to ask, what is Phase 3? Admiral Hayes kept mentioning it, but no one seems to know what it actually is." Jennifer laughed. "Thomas, there is no Phase 3. "What?" "It's a bluff. We've weaponized uncertainty itself. By making them imagine what Phase 3 could be, we've created a weapon more terrifying than anything we could actually build. Let them wonder. Let them fear. As long as they're afraid of what we might do, they won't force us to do anything." Thomas shook his head in amazement. "We weaponized their imagination." "We weaponized everything, Thomas, including fear, doubt, and the unknown. That's what humans do. We turn intangible concepts into strategic advantages." Back on Earth, Admiral Catherine Hayes visited a memorial. 24,500 names were carved into black stone. Her daughter's name was there, Emma Hayes. Age 7, dreams of becoming a xenobotanist. Catherine placed flowers at the base of the memorial. Other families were there too, mourning their losses. Scientists who died doing peaceful research. Children who died learning about the universe. "Admiral?" General Marcus Joe approached quietly. "Marcus, the Council wants to know if we should deactivate Project Pandora. The war's over." Catherine considered the question. "No. Leave it active. All 7,000 installations. Let them serve their dual purpose: mining, research, communication, and defense. You think there'll be another attack? I think we've learned something important about the galaxy, Marcus. When we entered space, we hoped to find peace. We found predators. The Jacari attacked because they saw us as weak. Other species might make the same mistake. So we stay armed. We stay prepared. There's a difference." Catherine looked at her daughter's name one more time. Emma wanted to study alien plants. She wanted to understand how life could exist in such different environments. That was her dream: to learn, to discover, to understand. She turned to Marcus. "We'll honor that dream. We'll keep exploring, researching, reaching out to other species. But we'll do it with Project Pandora watching our backs. We'll be scientists and explorers first, warriors second. But anyone who mistakes that order for weakness will learn the same lesson the Jacari did. Which is, humans weaponize everything, including hope. We hope for peace, but we're prepared for war. That's our strength. That's what makes us human." Across the galaxy, a new saying emerged among spacefaring species. Never attack a human unless you're prepared to fight everything they've ever built, learned, or imagined. because to them, there's no such thing as a civilian technology. There's only technology waiting to be weaponized. Some species found this terrifying. Others found it reassuring, because it meant that as allies, humans brought the same innovative creativity to peace that they did to war. The Jakari incident became required study in every military academy in the galaxy, not as an example of human brutality, but as a lesson in the danger of underestimating an opponent. Years later, a young Jakari officer asked Science Executor Thaxril, now retired, what he thought the most dangerous thing about humans was. The old scholar considered the question carefully. The most dangerous thing about humans isn't their weapons. It's not their creativity. It's not even their willingness to turn anything into a threat. He paused. It's that they genuinely prefer peace. They have all this capacity for violence, all this ability to destroy, and they choose not to use it unless forced. How is that dangerous? Because it means when they do use it, when you force them to abandon peace and embrace war, they have no limits. They'll use everything, restrain nothing, hold nothing back. The species that weaponizes everything becomes most terrifying when it finally decides to deploy everything. The young officer was quiet for a moment. Are you saying we should fear them? No, Thaxril said gently. I'm saying we should respect them. There's a difference. Fear leads to conflict. Respect leads to cooperation. And if you're going to survive in a galaxy where humans exist, you need to understand that distinction. He pulled up a final image. Research Station Osiris, rebuilt and thriving. Jakari, scientists working alongside human researchers, studying alien life together. This is what humans offer the galaxy: partnership, knowledge, protection, but only if you don't force them to show you the alternative. And the alternative? Thaxril showed him classified footage from the Jakari War. Mining platforms becoming artillery, research stations deploying bioweapons, communication arrays turning into surveillance nets, civilian infrastructure transforming into military might in hours. The alternative, Thaxril said quietly, is learning that when humans say they can weaponize anything, they're not boasting. They're warning you